Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Piper House, where we renovate our 1889 vacant home in a small town in Nova Scotia. Starting off, we are in the entryway here, and there is this horrible dark red carpet. It is not the kind of carpet for an entryway, but also we are not carpet people. So out it went, and all that dust in the air, we know, we need masks. We did not anticipate that we were going to do a whole bunch of stuff this first day. I'm not sure why we thought that, because of course we did. But underneath this underlay is in fact hardwood floors, but there is sort of this rubber stuff from the underlay that sort of baked itself onto the hardwood floors. We are confident that we can get it off, but we definitely would prefer hardwood for sure. This is Matt saying we need masks. Yes, we do. The back entryway was boarded up like this. We're still not entirely sure why, maybe extra security. There was also a screw screwed in so that you could not get the door open. This doorway, this entryway is much closer to where we park the car, so it just is a lot easier for us to get in and out of this than the front door. But try as we might, we could not get this. There were so many nails in this board, and we did not have a ladder on this first day. So Matt tried and said, this is going to have to wait. Next up was the kitchen, the slats in the kitchen. He was really curious to see how this house is framed, because there seems to be odd bits and pieces of wood. The windows in this kitchen, by the way, are basically just two pieces of glass basically hovering in front of each other. We are definitely going to be replacing these. So we discovered all of these studs that were sort of split and cut in half. Some of them were sistered onto an existing post, but a lot of them were not. And it was very curious to us. Also, these kind of random painted boards. We just were not quite sure what the story was, although it did become quite apparent as time went on what exactly is going on here. We'll get into that later in the video. Otherwise, just trying to figure out how this was framed in the first place. This is actually an addition to the house. But the addition was put on, we think, in maybe 1915. So still not a modern addition by any stretch, but not a part of the original house. We're learning more and more about the original house as time goes on. Just how it's all put together is quite interesting. So here we are on day 2. Matt went back on his own. This is an incredibly busy time of year for me with orders, and I just could not get away from the studio. So he went on his own. The kitchen is quite dark as it is, so he tacked up the curtains there to try and make more space for him. Oh, this is quite funny. We still did not have a ladder, so he brought this step stool and broke it. So much for that idea. And into the garbage bag it goes. Poor guy. So his mission here is just to try and get as much of the lath off the walls as he can. Safety first, put your gloves on, and you'll notice that he is wearing masks in all these videos. But this is incredibly time consuming. And what you don't see in these videos is a lot of him pausing to try and figure things out. In all of these renovation videos that you see of people, they're just busy working, but really in between that, there's a lot of stopping and looking and going, why is this the way it is? Why is that happening? Also, something else to note about my darling husband, he is definitely a clean as you work kind of guy. That is something that I'm not particularly good at. But you will see throughout this that he pauses after so many pieces of wood coming off. He'll pause and bag it all up. I also think it gives him a break from doing this monotonous chore over and over again.
Just standing in the kitchen here, looking at what's going to, we think, be the piping room. And obviously this kitchen's an addition. You can see the old shingles here. Kind of cool. Just closed them right in. We have them over here. Yeah. Over here. So. And it seems as though they just put some insulation in this one wall and then boarded over it. The insulation is totally degraded. Not a whole lot left of it. I don't know if the vermin were making nests out of it or what.
I'm hoping that we can reclaim some of this wood that's coming off of the walls here and turn them into some signs or something that we can sell. We're definitely going to be sanding them and finishing them properly, but it'd be a shame to let this 100-year-old wood go to waste. But we have this big blank slate of a kitchen, and we just sort of have to figure out what to do with it and where to put everything.
So end of afternoon 2 here, and really need to come back with a proper ladder, but making some headway on clearing the lath and some of the what there is for installation. That's what we got so far. Gonna have to think about doing a dump run pretty soon. Beginning of day 3 here. This should be the first full day I get to spend. Just taking a look at this kitchen and hoping to take down as much of this lath as I can today. Finally got a ladder, and gonna have to move all these timbers out of the way.
Huzzah! A ladder. This is going to make Matt's day a lot easier, especially when he gets up to those upper sections and the ceiling. So yeah, total blank slate this kitchen. We do not have appliances, cupboards, anything yet. We likely will have to just try and find something secondhand, maybe an existing kitchen that somebody is renovating and getting rid of their cupboards. Same with the appliances, same with all of that stuff. It's all just a big question mark. But we both love to cook, Matt especially. So this room is super duper important to both of us, but especially to him. We can't wait to have a nice big kitchen with new big bright windows.
Making some headway, pulling down the lath, and one mystery solved. I was trying to figure out why the framing in this wall was so strange. All the studs cut off, and some of them sistered with a replacement, and others just left sort of sitting there. Anyway, also why the board sheathing was painted in some spots, but now that I have all the lath off, it's pretty obvious. Looks as though there were 2 windows here in this wall at some point. Don't know if this would have been kitchen originally, as it was used in its most recent history. Again, this was an addition to the house, so it's hard to say.
Not sure if we're going to put those big windows back in, maybe something smaller. We definitely would like the kitchen to be a lot brighter than it is. The current existing windows, like I said, are just 2 pieces of glass hovered in front of each other, basically. We will definitely be replacing those, hopefully with something bigger. As you can see, those windows were bigger at one point, so we will just have to see. Again, probably some secondhand windows from an outlet or something. Whatever size we can find is basically what we're going to go with. But the end goal is definitely to have a big, bright, open, airy kitchen. Definitely going to have an island of some kind, whether we build it ourselves or whether we find one. But either way, it's quite exciting to kind of dream and think about and figure out what it can be eventually. And here's a clip where Matt accidentally bumped the tripod. There's several minutes of this, but I just thought I would include a few seconds because I thought it was funny. Again, cleaning as he goes, he is very, very good at that. But if you see the wall right next to the ladder there is a section of painted boards, which leads us to believe that the original window was the same size as the other 2 windows that we discovered. So all 4 of them would have been quite large windows going down almost to the ground, because the bottom of that wall is in fact the ground outside. Those would be quite big to have on the ground level, but we definitely want to have something at least a little bigger than what's there. You can also see that old cast iron radiator there. We love them. We love them a lot. Not sure if we're going to be able to keep them or use them. A lot of them have been disconnected. There currently is not a heat source. There is an oil tank down in the basement. There are 4 old furnaces down there. Not sure if any of them could work if we wanted them to. Ideally, we'd love to do heat pumps, just not sure what the finances will allow, if we can qualify for some of the rebates, etc. So right now, big old question mark. But we do absolutely love the look of the old cast iron radiators, and they give off great heat. So if we can use them, we absolutely will.
Well, I didn't get as much done as I'd hoped, but made some progress anyway. All but one wall. This last one. That's enough for a day.
Everything is dirty. Now the flooring is really interesting. There is a big chunk that was cut down to the very subfloor floorboards. Not sure entirely why. Then there was a layer of plywood, and then obviously some old tiles and some old vinyl flooring. All of that's going to come up. We were trying to figure out what the best sort of solution to the flooring would be. If we can see what's underneath the plywood layer, maybe there are hardwood floors or maybe softwood floors, and so that we don't have to go all the way down to the subfloor floorboards. That would be ideal. We just have to take all of that up and figure it out. Taking all of these tiles up are such a pain. They are such a pain. We actually took a bunch of these tiles up in the kitchen that in the apartment we currently live in, and it was just such a pain. So he does this for a little while, but honestly, he sort of gave up after a while because it's long and it's annoying. I suspect we're probably just going to try and just rip up the plywood that's underneath these tiles, and all of the existing tiles and vinyl floor will just have to come with it. I think that'll be the quicker of the options. And ultimately, putting new flooring down is not the goal. We want to use as much of the original as we can. So I came back on another day. Look, I have my purse on and everything. I was not anticipating doing work, but I just was so curious about what was going to be underneath these. But doing this on the jagged raw edge of the plywood was real tough on my hands. Yeah, so I found one glove, that was it. But I thought, well, that's going to be good enough. So up we go with the flooring, and there is, in fact, another layer of old boards on top of the subfloor boards. My husband likes to call me Demo Debbie because I like to just tear things up, but I just couldn't wait. So that's the subfloor, and then that ledge there that the crowbar is half sitting on top of are the other boards. So hopefully, and then the plywood on top of that. Hopefully we can finish those boards and make do with those. And now that we have a ladder, we can finally take the board off of the back door. This has been days now of Matt traipsing back and forth through the front door, which is A, on the opposite side from the kitchen, and B, on the opposite side from where we park our car. So this is just going to be much, much more convenient. This was, again, still not an easy board to get off, but we finally did. And now we can finally get through the door. He still has to unscrew that nail, but then success. Thank you all so much again for tuning in and for all of your support. Please share our videos as far and wide as you can. And please stay tuned for the next episode of Piper House. Let there be light. See you next time.